I am your host, Preston. It's been a very long time since I've done a video. I say that every single time. I'm so bad with timing with these things. You know, one video every 2 months probably isn't the best course of action for this channel, but we have to make do when we get really busy. So today, I'm in something very, very special. It's a 997 Turbo. This is actually a vehicle that I helped my dad purchase. He was looking to get back into a 911. Something special. We ended up finding this car for him in Arizona. So it's a warm weather car. It's lived in Hawaii for some period of time, out in California and in Arizona as well. So it's been a warm weather, sunny weather car. No rain, salt, anything like that really. So it's a very clean example. But really the special thing about this car is the paint finish. And this is now a paint to sample Porsche color. For any of you fanatics out there, I'm a huge Porsche guy. I'll be sitting there eating lunch, eating my sandwich or whatever, and I'll say, oh, there goes, you know, Voodoo Blue going by, Riviera Blue, whatever. It's one of those useless skills that you have, right? But this is PTS Carmona Red, this color, and why is it special? It's a 1 of 23, actually, this 997 Turbo. So, for the 997 generation, this was sort of the last series of 911, ending with the GT3 RS 4.0, where Hans Metzger had sort of a hand in the car himself. He was retired by that time, but his engine lived on through the 997 series all the way up till 2012. So this is his flat six. It harkens back all the way to the 60s on the first 911. Hans Metzger was basically the daddy of the 911 power plant. He was the inventor and designer of the 911 engine that we all love and know today, the flat six. But as I was saying, this color is called Carmona Red Metallic, or Carmona Red Metallic, spelled two different ways. It's a 1 of 23. This particular example is a Tiptronic. You know, there's some bad blood there with people, real Porsche fanatics in the Tiptronic. I'll go into that a little bit as I drive the vehicle. I actually like it. It's just kind of one of those people are sticklers about it. You kind of get over it after you get used to it. This is still a very exciting car. But nonetheless, I believe there are 10 PTS Carmona Red 997 turbos in the 6-speed manual variant. And then there are only 14 of the Tiptronic variant, so 23 or 24 total in the entire world. So this is pretty special. So I guess let's go into some of the likes and dislikes of the car. Start off with the dislikes. So you can probably see in the camera reflection that sun, I think there might be a sunspot on my face showing up, and that's this sort of beige interior. You know, that's obviously subjective to the original owner that spec'd up and ordered this car, but if I were to probably get another 997 Turbo or another Porsche, or any car for that matter, I probably wouldn't do this sort of light tan interior, because when you're driving in direct sunlight, it is a disaster, and it reflects onto the windshield as well, and it is bad for visibility. Other dislikes, I talked about the transmission a little bit. I was talking about sort of the rarity of this color, and would I like the 6-speed manual over the Tiptronic? Yes, I would. Who wouldn't? However, I don't think that the flack that the Tiptronic gets is really worth the beating that it actually receives. I find that this car really puts down the power well. It's not a jumpy transmission. It is a 5-speed only. This is sort of one of the early era of faster automatics. It is much better than the transmission that you would see in like an SLR McLaren, for example, of the same era. Much slower and laggier, but it is interesting. If you're familiar with Porsche tuners, whether it be Gambala or 9FF, for example, they actually prefer the Tiptronic, just because it's way over-engineered. You can get up to 1,000 horsepower on the stock Tiptronic variant, which is astounding. It just shows you, the degree to what these Porsche engineers go through in designing and engineering the gearbox, the motor, everything about these cars. So that dislike brings me to one of the biggest likes, and that, of course, is just the Porsche reliability that everybody comes to know and love about the 911. As opposed to, let's see, this era, it would be end of Ferrari 360 going into Ferrari F430, for example. Doing track days with those kind of cars, you're scared that you're going to be able to leave the track to go home on the way back, just because, there were those early maintenance scares, and still are, surrounding many exotic cars that are rivals to the 911 Turbo. The Porsche 911 has always been the sporting man or woman's car, that you can take out for your track day. You can beat on it, drive it all the way from England to the Nürburgring and back, and you're going to be fine. You're not going to be worried about your car breaking down on the side of a road in a fireball. And that's what is so awesome about these 911s. This particular example has just under 37,000 miles, 36,878 as I'm driving it. It just feels brand new. And it's a 15-year-old car now, which is just absolutely amazing. There's no creaks or rattles. Drives wonderfully. The suspension feels brand new. It's just an awesome super sports car daily driver that you can, take out to dinner just as comfortably as you would be on the track. One of the other things, of course, I really love about these 997 era 911s especially is just the nimbleness. You feel like that you're in an overpowered go-kart. If you've ever driven a 911, you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially these all-wheel drive variants like the Turbo, 4S, etc. They feel like nothing else on the road. The newer generation 911s, 991, 992, are just getting so big. Not to say that I don't like them. I love pretty much every iteration of 911. I've sat in the newer 991 GT3s, for example, and that's a big car. If you set this 997 Turbo next to it, obviously you're going to see the similarities, because the 911, kind of like the G-Wagon, has pretty much looked the same since the 60s. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But obviously for safety regulations, things like that, bumper impact zones, etc., they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's not really what the 911 is supposed to be about. But for me, the 997 is sort of that perfect generation of size, power to weight ratio, etc. This is the 3.6 liter flat six twin turbo making 480 horsepower, and it really, 480 horsepower nowadays, you say, well, I can get that, my Civic Type R is pretty close to that nowadays, right? But it still feels like plenty of power. 0 to 60 is around, there's an AMG GTS, pretty cool. 0 to 60 is around 3.5 seconds. Back then, just astounding. It goes close to 200 miles an hour, so this is not a slow car by any stretch. Obviously, your new 991, 992 Turbo S would blow this thing away, but aside from the sheer speed, it's really just about the driving experience. And you feel, one thing is, you definitely feel all of the road when you're driving one of these. Getting out of the Range Rover Sport SVR, it's a much different experience. You definitely, even though this is the turbo model and not a GT product, for example, you still bounce around quite a bit. You're feeling all the nooks and crannies on the road. The car with the all-wheel drive system does tram line to a degree, but I think that's partially due to these abysmal Michigan roads that we live on. Obviously, flat surface better for any car, but that's not really a complaint. Much more about the car than it is about the state of Michigan Department of Transportation. A little bit of my better stretch of road here. I got a F-150 in front of me, so I can't really hammer it too hard, but you can just hear. This is so quick, and you right on the person's bumper in front of you. I mean, do you really need much more power than this? I'm not really sure. I mean, the new Turbo S, just unbelievable power. I mean, approaching 7 unusable. This is sort of that, I guess, perfect calculation that the engineers had with power to weight, etc. back then. Steering is nice and direct. You don't have that electric assist that you're going to experience in the newer 911s. Although, testament to Porsche, they still are one of the best in the business, even with a lot of these brands going more to electric and away from hydraulic steering. They still have very direct steering, even in the newer 911s that I've been in. But yeah, overall driving experience is fantastic. You can kind of hear the road noise, and it's pretty loud. This is sort of a resurfaced road that I'm on, so that's partially due to it. But it's definitely not a quiet riding car necessarily. But it's not headache worthy, put it that way. Coming up to a nice stretch. I'm going to give this guy a few seconds because I'm going to hammer it when I turn here. Just see how she does. Right now I just have it in just the regular drive mode. I didn't do Sport Plus or anything yet, but here we go around the corner on it. This is way too fast. Whew. Yeah, for something 15 years old, man, it still makes your heart race. I mean, it's, again, right back on the person's bumper in front of me. Got these little Tiptronic nubs on here. Not a big fan of those, but man, it is crazy. You just get that straight six kind of woofle a little bit, and then those turbos just kick you right in the back. It is just something else that I don't want to make the comparison, but I will. It reminds me a little bit, sort of the way that a lot of journalists describe the Ferrari F40, those that are lucky enough to drive it. I mean, it's crazy. It's just that it has that classic turbo character to it that I love. It's sort of absent from the modern day stuff. You know, you have in a lot of the modern sports cars, you have electric alternators that are assisting and stuff, and a lot of people used to complain about the lag. I personally love it. It just gives you that character, just, you know, kind of like I like the Aventador single clutch gearbox, for example. I think as we're moving forward more and more toward electrification and just sterile driving utensils more than involved driving machines, I think that this older technology is becoming much more appealing. Speaking about that, I guess from this era, I just want to talk a little bit about the value of these cars. You know, as we sit, this is being filmed in mid-October 2021, values for pretty much everything are just through the roof right now, whether it's a new full-size Range Rover, a new Porsche GT product is just atmospheric. Aventador SVJs are close to $1 million. Even new Turbo S's are $100,000 over sticker. This car is a bargain right now. The 997.1 turbo, the .2s are starting to creep up a little bit. I did see on Bring a Trailer the other day that the 6-speed, just even a plain black one, sold in the 130s. So they're starting to creep up. But if you want an exciting, daily drivable supercar, you can't really go wrong with the 997.1 turbo. I encourage you to give it a shot. Don't look the other way if it says Tiptronic. Give it a try. Just obviously go through your maintenance history, you know, Porsche service records, etc. Make sure it's the one that's right for you. But man, these are just fantastic, fantastic cars. I don't want to drown out this video too long. I just want to do kind of a quick video of my impressions for the car. It's been in the garage for a couple of months now. Not really planning on getting rid of it anytime soon. Here we go. These turbos just sound so good. That Metzger flat six. Alright, well, before I go to jail, I better sign off. Again, thank you for watching the PCAF. This is Preston. Definitely want to have a lot more frequent videos for you, but I appreciate you tuning in as always. Thanks for watching this video on the 997 Turbo. I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.